Hi, my name's Libby and I'm age 11 and my birthday is the 2nd of April 2011.
My name's Charlie, but everybody sometimes call me Charles. I'm 13 years old and I was born in the 2nd of July 2009.
So I was the principal investigator of the study. So my job was kind of just overseeing everything that went on, inputting on the reports that we wrote, on the surveys, the questions that we asked, on the interview questions as well. We put together a steering group for the project of professionals who worked in the field in various different capacities, so liaising with the steering group. And I should also point out as well that we did have two other colleagues who were part of the project, Lucy Bray at Edge Hill University and Amel Algrani at University of Liverpool as well, who were both co-investigators on the study. And they also provided a whole wealth of knowledge and input onto the study as well.
So basically, I began by doing the literature review. So I had to search for all the literature that was out there, pick all the pieces out that were relevant to what we were studying, collate it all together. And then basically, I had to put the surveys together. We all came up with the survey questions and I had to put them all in the SurveyMonkey thing that we used. And then did all the interviews as well with parents and the children and the professionals, analysed all the information from the surveys and the interviews, brought it all together in reports, and then we've been presenting the work as well, haven't we? That's a brief little overview of what my role has been.
So the Ask, Listen, Act project was looking at the impact of the pandemic on children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities, particularly in terms of their education, health and social care, so how that had been impacted. So the project kind of came about because there was a lot of research looking at the impact of the pandemic on children generally, but not so much on children with special needs. And we felt that they were quite an underrepresented group, despite the fact that there were a whole host of legal adjustments that were made to the rights of children with special needs as part of the Coronavirus Act.
It was really sad. I didn't like it because I couldn't see my friends or my family. It was a really boring time. It was like the end of the world, literally. It was just like everything that had been piled up into a big room just fell on top of me. Like, it was like a dream. It was not a good dream, like a nightmare. I didn't like it. When somebody had coronavirus in our class, we had to go into isolation so we didn't spread it because we might have it, and we had to learn from home, and we did that in my old class. We did that quite a few times and it was really boring. I didn't like it. There was one good thing about the pandemic.
What was that?
I just liked playing Roblox 24/7. Square eyes, I know. But I loved it. I liked it a lot. I just sat there on my computer like and my mum was like, "It's time for dinner," and I'm like, "Can I sit up here?" When we came out of quarantine, we just I have this friend called Amaya, and we literally just went out like nearly every single day almost. We had skateboard parks, gardens. It was epic, and I liked that. Coronavirus has just put an impact on everybody's life, and not a good impact neither. An impact that will just be stuck with us forever. That's something that will go down in history one day. I can't even explain how bad it was. It was just rubbish. And that's all I can say for that question. Rubbish.
What it was like working from home, it was just terrible. It really hurted my fingers every time I used the keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, my fingers looked like this after I was done typing.
So while I was in school, in real life, it was actually the end of my first year that I'd been in this school, because I've only been here for not a while, 1 year, 3 years nearly when I leave. Some children find it difficult learning online, and I did. So Boris Johnson didn't really consider that as a good thing. He just went, everyone learning online. And I'm like, you know what? I really don't want to learn online, but I'm going to have to do it because I do not want to miss education. I want to go to a good uni when I'm older.
So we set about doing a literature review, surveys with young people, with parents, with education, health and social care professionals, and with local authority professionals as well, to explore the impact on mental health, well-being, physical health, medical conditions, play and recreation, schooling. And then we also did some follow-up interviews as well with the same groups of people. And then we took all of our findings to workshops. We did workshops with children in schools and at charity support groups, with parents at parent carer forums, and we held professional workshops online as well to look at what we found and then how what we found could impact policy and practice. So what would need to actually change in real life for those young people in order for those priorities to be actioned for them.
I think firstly, from our research, we found a lot of professionals actually did go above and beyond during the pandemic. There's a real need to train more professionals to work with children with SEND because there's just such a shortage really going forward as well. A really strong finding from the research was many children with SEND really thrived during the pandemic if they went to school during the lockdowns because class sizes were smaller. There was a flexible curriculum. They could do much more outdoor learning. There was much more of an emphasis on well-being rather than academic performance. There was more staff to be able to take them out on excursions and things like that. And it was a lot of the educational professionals just said how much of a shame it was to have to return to like rigid curriculum, a focus on maths and English and things like that. And it would just be such a shame of really all the learning of how much many children benefited during COVID if that learning wasn't really taken forward.
To be honest, I think it almost helped a little bit with everything being online, collaborated with, so it was a multi-institutional project across all of the higher education institutions in Liverpool, working with colleagues that I've never worked with before, never met before. And we were introduced by Liverpool Health Partners, that's their kind of their role in the city is to try to forge collaborations and things. So I think being able to meet online, the fact that distance didn't really matter, I think was really useful in terms of collaborating with other academics and with the steering group as well. Similarly, we had steering group members all across the country and we didn't have to worry about them travelling or having to reimburse or the time that was taken out of that. So I think in a lot of ways it helped. And similarly in terms of the research with the young people as well and parents and professionals, we had them participating from all across the UK because everything was online and it didn't matter where they were. So I think that was really beneficial then in terms of being able to see differences across local authorities, across region, learning all about how they did things differently.
I'd say for me, it was twofold, really. I'd say the workshops with the children were just brilliant, really. They were so enthusiastic and they really seemed to enjoy it. We did lots of activities with them, like they wrote a postcard to the Prime Minister and they posted it in a little post box. And then we had big, massive sheets of paper all over the floor and they could stick Post-it notes on the different things they wanted to say. So it was just really good for them to be able to share their views, really. And then the second bit as well, I'd say interviewing the parents. A lot of them had really tough time over the pandemic. A lot of the parents said that they'd had breakdown because of it all and they hadn't been listened to and they'd had no support. I think it was just really great that they were able to share their views and give their experiences and hopefully we've been able to amplify their voices and make sure they're listened to really about what it's been like for them.
I liked it because it was fun. Everybody was nice to me there. So yeah, I liked that. A big piece of paper on the floor and we had these sticky card things that we wrote on and stuck it on. And I like that.
Well, I do have a passion for art, so I am pretty much a half artist. I draw pictures of sharks and everything because I do love sharks.
We had these football sort of thing and that was really cool. We write what we didn't like about coronavirus, what we did like. And then we sent a postcard to Boris Johnson. That was really fun. I like that. I really enjoyed the workshop and I'm glad I took part.
I think it's so nice just because it's such an important topic. It really needs attention. I'm really glad that the needs of children with SEND are being taken into account and their voices are being heard moving forward. They've been a group that really have been disproportionately negatively impacted by the pandemic, and they're also such an overlooked group in research as well. So I'm particularly glad that their experiences and their voices have been so integral to the project and that their experiences have been heard. Yeah, it's really great to see. So as part of the surveys, we asked everyone their top 3 priorities for policy and funding for children to better support children with SEND moving forward. So we took all of those, and we had hundreds of them at the end of the survey, sort of condensed them down into kind of themed areas, and then we took those to the workshops to further condense them down into sort of actionable priorities. So we ended up with 5 different types of themes of policy priority areas, and we used a rights-based approach to them as well. So what were the rights of children? So they were things like having a right to feel safe in school, to have flexibility in school, to have access to the healthcare services that they need in order to stay healthy and stay well, to be able to access early intervention for mental health support and have tailored mental health support that's appropriate to their needs. So all those kind of things about what would need to be better in the future for these young people. We've finished analysing most of our data and writing up the evidence briefings for that. And we felt at the time of writing it that the priorities that we came up with were so current, but also so kind of practically meaningful. There was a real way that we could kind of real world implications. And we really wanted to make sure that they fed into policy and practice in order to help make things better for young people. So we had a bit of a steep learning curve into politics, and we developed some evidence briefings for various different types of MPs. So those who focused on education, those who focused on health and social care, etc., and got in touch with a few of them, sent them the evidence briefings and said maybe something that you were interested in. And we've had a few of them get back to us and say that they are and they'd like to meet. We've had a couple of meetings with some MPs and we've got a few more coming up as well. Really just kind of sharing our findings with them and asking what they can do for us in order to ensure that the priorities get into the relevant policy documents that they need to. So that's where we're up to at the moment. And then in terms of kind of future plans, it's really just looking at making sure that our findings have as big a reach as possible, really, in terms of making sure that things change for young people. They've taken the time to feed into the surveys and do the interviews and engage in the workshops with us. And we really want to make sure that that was worthwhile for them and make sure that they have an impact.
Make sure that virus is just dead.
Well, he could have said, you can go into school, but only for a short amount of time.
I think it's partly due to us having such an engaged impact officer at John Moores. Emily has been really helpful in kind of encouraging us and pushing us to make sure that we get the impact. But I think it's also just about the value of the research, really, the amount of parents and professionals and children who took the time to engage in the research and provide us with such rich data. I think it's sort of a testament to how little research there was already out there in terms of the impact of the pandemic on children with SEND, and sort of just being able to have their voices in it and the extent to which they engaged in the project. Families could really see themselves and reflected in the findings.